Jazz After Dark. How you doing today? Tonight, I should say. We're financial advisors here at Jazz Wealth, and I still haven't changed the mic to be on this side. I make an effort to wear the same freaking shirt, not the same exact shirt, but the same style shirt every day, and I never changed this so you can see, get your dough straight. Speaking of getting your dough straight, this is going to be a quick little rant. This actually came up. We've got the Woodford Reserve here tonight and carrying over from last night, actually. But saw some comments on an old video, and I was like, maybe I take this for granted. So we're going to cover borrowing from your 401k, which, by the way, is totally acceptable, right? And I'm going to give you a couple examples why people overthink this a little bit and why you can certainly do this. I don't know where the disconnect is. First, if you are a wealthy individual, and we do this for clients that have over $100,000 in their brokerage accounts, but typically this sort of thing is reserved for like the ultra wealthy, or has been in the past anyways. You can borrow from your brokerage account. I'm disconnecting from the 401k for a second. It's very common, actually. If you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. I've done some classes and videos on this where, let's pretend you had $10 million. You were lucky enough to have that in a brokerage account, and it was all invested in, Apple, I don't know. And you've had it for 10 years, right? So you made all this money, but you needed some of that money in your brokerage account to buy a business or property or, help your family. I don't know what people do, right? So if you were to sell the positions, you would have a capital gain. You probably just recently saw one of our Jazz After Darks where I went through the dollars and everything, but you'd have a capital gain, and then that money would not be able to grow. So you'd be missing out on future growth, in addition to having the tax. And to borrow from your brokerage account, I think Elon Musk is used as an example a lot for this, but to borrow, you pay a small interest rate. It's higher now, but in other words, it's smaller than borrowing it from the bank or something, right? Because they have your money already. So you're borrowing from an account that they control, your brokerage firm, and they can just take it from you if you don't pay back. So they charge you a lower interest rate. And people are all excited to do that. But when it comes to, like, I hear all the time, like, these rich people get away with everything. But when it comes to your own 401k that you have access, most people, to borrow from, people say, no, don't do that. You're going to get in debt, and it's a horrible thing to do. Why? I'm going to give you the arguments that I hear. You're paying tax twice on your money. No, you're not. I've actually seen advisors say that, and I'm like, where are we going to school for this? Like, clearly that's something that's not taught. You're not paying tax twice. You pay an interest rate, but the interest goes to you, not the brokerage firm. So let's say the interest rate is now, 6%. You collect the 6% as the 401k holder. So you're not paying, Fidelity or whoever. Number three, since you borrowed the money from your 401k, the investments that you have, albeit not necessarily always the best choices you have in a 401k, but the investments get to stay. So if you had $100,000 in your 401k and you borrowed 50, the rule, by the way, is 50% or 50,000, whatever's less. That's the rule right now. That could change and has changed in the past. Let's say you borrow 50% and they say it's 6%. You borrow the 50, the full 100 gets to stay invested. You can repay it. You will have to repay it on some schedule that they'll set. The 6% goes to you. You don't pay tax twice. I'm just not seeing the argument there. And surely somebody's going to have a comment that'll help me with this, although I'm saying that to be nice. There's no argument against it. Unless you're saying, like, I'm taking 50,000 out because I want to go to Paris or something. You know what I mean? Like, you borrow from your assets when available to further your wealth. You don't borrow to consume, you borrow to grow. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. Brokerage accounts are the same way. You're borrowing because there's an opportunity. And it maybe includes, like, buying your house that you're going to live in for 5 years and then rent it out, whatever. But you're not borrowing so that you can, buy a new camera or, that's silly. You just, why do that? So in a 401k, let's just put this to rest. If you choose to borrow from it, but have at it. You know what I mean? You're not hurting yourself unless you truly can't make the payments or something happens there. But, let's go there too. Let's pretend that someone has the argument, okay, it's not double taxed. You are paying yourself the interest and your investments get to keep growing, but you have to make payments back to it out of your paycheck. That's true. What if you can't make the payments? Well, that means you lost your job, probably, unless you're really poor with money and you lied and said you were borrowing it to buy a property and you paid your bills. I don't know. Well, that's a different story. So that might be a hardship position that you're in, and there's a different route you would go there. But if you can't make the payments, what happens? Do you go to jail? No. Do you lose your retirement account? No. What happens is they count what's left as a distribution. Now that comes with a tax and a penalty. Okay, well, don't do that, right? That could happen, and I've seen it happen, of course, being through so many people. But that's the worst that can happen. So in the example, you have 100,000, you borrow 50. Let's say you did good for 2 years, you made your payments, and it was a 5-year payback, and you cannot pay the rest of it back. You lost your job, the economy shrunk, recession, blah, blah, blah. Whatever's left over, I'll pretend it's $30,000. That counts as a distribution. That sucks. But if it's truly because you lost your job, would your income not be lower in that year? So a distribution on your taxes, would it really raise your tax bill? You can argue, yes, I'll take that one, right? But if it's February now, when we're making this video, I take $50,000 out, and for the next 2 years I make payments, but the following February I lose my job. Let's pretend I made $100,000 a year. That means my reportable income is only going to be $12,000, $15,000. The 401k company will say, well, you've defaulted on that withdrawal, and so $30,000 goes on your taxable income. Well, we have a $3,000 10% penalty if you're under the age of 59. All right. So let's say that brings your total income for the year to $18,000 because you're still looking for a job or you just take the time off. And the $30,000 is taxable. Well, now we're at $48,000. Let's round up and call it $50,000. Your tax bill would still be less than if you worked all year and made the payments. See where I'm coming at? I'm massaging that a little bit, so you can give me grief for doing that, but I'm trying to make the case that it's big deal. Right? And if you lost your job, and let's pretend you had unemployment, some of that's taxable and everything, are we not right back to where we started? So we look at it as, I don't want to be on the hook for this 10% penalty or the taxes or anything. But if you can't make the payment back, you don't hurt your credit. That's the other part about it. If you take a 401k loan, no one knows. It doesn't go on your credit. They don't check your credit. It's not reported that you missed a payment or missed all your payments, right? So don't let someone say, like, if you have an opportunity to grow your wealth or there's something that's come up, then you're like, I just could use the money. Take the shot, especially if you're younger. Don't worry about the 10% penalty so much, which is really difficult for me to say, but don't worry about that so much. If there's an opportunity that might involve some risk, of course, to grow your future worth, right? Take the chance. If you're young enough, you won't know this guy, but if you're of a certain age, you may know who this is. But Bruce Williams, that's my financial mentor in life. And he wasn't always financial, but I really like that guy. I listened to him on the radio when I was a kid. I didn't listen to music in the car. I listened to Bruce Williams, right? Tan Talk, I think it was, the radio station. He would always make the argument that you take risk when you're younger because you can dust yourself off, cry about it, and get back to work. If you take risk when you're 50, a large risk could be a real problem. Well, we got to think about that a little bit more. But if you're 30 years old and you need $30,000 for something and you can borrow it from your 401k, I struggle to find a reason why you shouldn't say invest in yourself. And that's really the moral of today's video is that. It's a loan, you're borrowing, you're in debt to yourself, but all the criteria I gave you puts you in an upper hand position versus going to mom and dad. That's a tough one. going to the bank and letting them make money off of it. Getting a loan from, a loan shark. Do they exist anymore? I don't know. So think about that. That's all I wanted to share today. I was on my head. I've been thinking about that for a while, and I just wanted to kind of point that out. It's a little bit different than what we normally do. But of course, consult with whoever's helping you. Talk about it. Just don't immediately fall for that debt conversation if there's an opportunity. And if it means there's a potential for any amount of growth for you, your well-being financially, or your net worth, right? So I hope that helps. I didn't even get a chance to sit and have a drink with you guys here. I was literally thinking about this, walking around the house, and I'm like, it kind of bugs me to see those comments where people don't think about the extra step involved with taking the next step, right? Growing, getting a little bit better off with yourself financially, even if it means a slight step backwards along the way. Chances are it's not the only step backwards you've encountered. And maybe those of you that are a little older can relate and help out the young guys a little bit. So what else do we have? Anything tonight? Much more fruity than I remember. I haven't had Woodford Reserve in a while, besides last night, but very good. That's all I have for you. Keep it real simple. You like our last night's video, by the way, the talking about how we invest. I thought the thumbnail would be a little catchy. If you're still watching, that was to get your attention. These YouTubers got to do that. How we're investing $250 million right now, and talking about our funds and stuff. So I hope you enjoyed that. We will see you again tomorrow night, right? Be a little bit longer. We'll hang out a little bit more tomorrow. I will try not to rant. We'll see you then. Thanks for watching.